let's just rip through where are the scouts this week. I think
Yeah.
Tennessee, Georgia is an obvious one.
No-brainer, yeah.
Clemson, Pitt. You know, I'm interested to see what Clemson is, but and Pitt, obviously. I think that's a game that scouts will be at. It's central location. I think there will be a decent amount there. How about Missouri, South Carolina? I think that's another one.
Yeah. South Carolina, we've talked about this. They've got dudes on defense, man. They're must-see defense. So, and then Missouri, again, it comes back to me for Bird in the third. Like, I just keep waiting for that breakout game, man. He's talented. I just want to see that breakout game. And maybe I didn't check recently, but I still don't think he's had that monster performance that I've expected this year.
Yeah, I think Arkansas, Tennessee is another one. Arkansas, Texas is another one where we could see a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So that's where we think the scouts will be this week. Where would Todd be this weekend, though?
This is your favorite thing every week, man.
I know. I'm sorry. I take over the podcast.
No, it's great. No, it's fine. It's great.
I get excited about it. When you're on the road as much as I was for for 20 years.
You've earned it.
Leave on Thursdays, come back on Sundays. I can't stand when you're traveling with a group of people and they just want to go to the same place. We're in Cincinnati. Let's go to Skyline Chili. No, go bleep yourself. I'm not going to Skyline Chili. No offense. I hope they're not a sponsor or something. But let's make this special. Like, let's get played somewhere where we can break bread. We can do this the right way. We can, find something unique. Find something that the locals are proud of,
Right.
And have that and know that you can come back to it and make friendships. And so
right.
There's a special pride. So talk to a bunch of people, folks in Athens. Talk to David Pollock is one of them, who, by the way, I love you, Dave. I do. He eats so healthy that I was concerned.
Yeah. Right. What are we doing here?
But if you're staying in Athens, I think it's one of the Hyatts or something. It's the most popular place. Check out the Abacus Hotel. I'm a big boutique guy.
I know, man. I know.
You know me. Everywhere we go, I try to find someplace. It's a little bit more interesting. There's a history to it. It's a little off the beaten path. You're not in the elevators with either 1,000 fans or a bunch of scouts. Something a little off the beaten path. Abacus Hotel, really cool music venue too there. Okay, so if you're going down to Athens, stay at the Abacus if you can get in there. The Foundry is inside the hotel.
Yeah.
Live music there, restaurant, some cocktails, do your thing, whatever your thing is. But it's just kind of a cool, different spot than your average, mainstream hotel. You got to check out the dog walk when you're there. I didn't work in games. I didn't have an opportunity, but been there, have seen it, have driven, by and around it. But that's a special deal. Tailgating there, the dog walk, everyone's coming into the stadium, the players, just what you would expect, the tradition, the atmosphere, the vibe, the feel. But my specialty, Mensch.
I do.
It's Friday nights, right? It's Friday night fair. We got one night. Let's go out. Let's be responsible on Friday night, but let's have a hell of a time. Okay. It's all about, like I said, breaking bread, great people, special environment, get to know the people there, the locals, telling stories, the history. And I'm not going to let you down. Once again, this is week 3 of this.
You haven't yet.
We gave you Acre 2 weeks ago in Auburn, special place. Last week, Baton Rouge. Brandon Landry, walk-ons, supper club, just outlining an amazing trip. If you're going to Baton Rouge and you're going to have a weekend with friends, family, whatever it is, and you want to have a bucket list trip, go check out the Baton Rouge breakdown we did last week. But this week, this is a special, close to my heart, Mitch, okay? We're going to highlight Chuck's Fish. Chuck's Fish. Let's start with a little history lesson here. You ready?
Yeah.
You're going to learn when you're on the college football trail, when you're out there every week, that there's tremendous history and there's pride in every place where you go. Each place has something different to offer. And everyone wants to tell you a story. And when you're in your 20s and you're going, you're kind of annoyed. You're like, where's the food? I don't care. Right? Then you get in your 30s and you're like, this is interesting. And then you start to get a little older and you're like, I need this. This is so special, so cool, right, so unique. All of these places, not just in the Southeast, but out west. out in the mountains, in the Midwest. Like every place has a special story, and there are special places in all of these places. And Chuck's Fish is one of those places. Okay. Chuck Morgan, follow me here. Okay. Chuck Morgan came to national prominence in 1963, the day after the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham. And if you're looking and watching this online, on the left-hand side, you'll see Chuck Morgan right there with that huge fish. So he delivered a speech after the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing in Birmingham, Alabama. Delivered a speech that was critical of the state of race relations in the South. His career as a civil rights attorney has been well documented, right? During extremely turbulent times in the 1960s. He went on to try 9 cases before the United States Supreme Court. Many of these were landmarks in the struggle for racial equality. I mean, how cool is this, right? What he did, the impact he had. This restaurant, Chuck's Fish, is named in his honor. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, okay? 1979, our guy right here, Chuck Morgan, founded Harbor Docks. Anyone who spent any time in Destin, Florida, the Destin Harbor is a famous restaurant and bar down in Destin. Chuck was also a frequent patron of Sakura's Sushi Bar, where he initially met this woman named Yoshi Eddings. And she has an unbelievable story too. Dates back to her days in Tokyo growing up. She was born and raised in Tokyo, came over to the United States with her husband, who was a photojournalist in the Air Force. And their son, Chris, who I've gotten to know, become friends with over the years, and basically making my second home down in the South on the college football circuit. And just follow me here. Okay. So we've got Yoshi Eddings, her husband, who's in the United States Air Force, and we've got their son, Chris. Ultimately, Yoshi joined Chuck. So Chuck just goes in. He likes the sushi place. He loves food. He sees that Yoshi's making this unbelievable sushi, right? And so eventually, Yoshi joins Chuck at his restaurant, Harbor Docks, and starts working there, okay? In 1991, they started working together, brought her over, saw a special talent, saw a special person with a great backstory, brings her in. Chris was 15 years old at the time, Chris Eddings. He began bussing tables. That's where his love and passion and just being around restaurants began. Fast forward to 2005. Okay. He goes off to college. He tries to do some business stuff. And Chuck's like, come back. And his son, Chuck Morgan's son, Charles Morgan III, had an idea for opening a restaurant that would showcase the best seafood from the Gulf of Mexico.
Love that.
Both with a Southern flair and also impeccable sushi, right?
Right.
So a year later, Chuck's Fish opens up in downtown Tuscaloosa. That's the first Chuck's Fish I ever went to. Okay. First time I met Chris Eddings. And you guessed it, Yoshi's making the sushi, and her son, Chris, my bud, becomes a managing partner. You see Chris and his mother, Yoshi, who I had the pleasure of meeting, actually in Mobile, Alabama. I think you and I actually went to the Chuck's Fish in Mobile, Mensch, but I met Yoshi in Mobile. I first met Chris in Tuscaloosa. Then I hooked back up with Chris and met his mom, Yoshi, in Mobile. So in 2009, they opened up the location in Birmingham after the Tuscaloosa one in 2005, followed by Mobile, Alabama, where I think we've eaten there together, Mensch. And then most recently in 2019, they opened a location in Athens, Georgia. So now in 2024, when deciding to make a trip to Athens or to Tuscaloosa or to Mobile or to any of these locations, Tallahassee as well, they have one. Okay. You gotta stop by Chuck's Fish. You now know the history. You now know the passion. You now know what Chuck did, and his impact on racial equality in the South. You now know that he finds this woman who's doing unbelievable stuff, making sushi, brings her in. They open up, and his son, Charles Morgan III, opens up these restaurants, and it's a must stop.
Yeah.
When I was texting with Pollock, I was like, give me some other places. Like, is there anything new? I haven't been back in a few years. The first place he said, got to be Chuck's, right? Like we both know Chuck's is the place to go. So it's not just a great restaurant. It's not just a great story. It's a destination. Like, get there early, sit down at the bar, get to know the people there. Chris doesn't spend, I don't think, as much time in the Athens one as some of the others, but let people know, Chris, the backstory, the Morgan family story. And I'm sure they will, like everywhere in the SEC and especially places like Athens and Baton Rouge, we talked about Auburn, they'll welcome you with open arms. And a side note, just to bring it all full circle, Pollock told me yesterday that Kirby Smart is also a part owner in the Chuck's Fish in Athens.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's kind of the tie with football and all of that. And don't let the visor and the yelling and screaming on the sideline throw you off here. Kirby knows his fine food. He knows what he's doing. So let's check out do we have the menu? Oh, there we go. I'm telling you, like their sushi is phenomenal. It's I always get in trouble with these places because I have to try the sushi. And like Yoshi's sushi is just unbelievable. And you see all the different rolls there, right? Yep. But then you're like, how many sushi rolls can I put down? Like the rock and roll sushi. Right. How many can I put down while I still need to get into the appetizers? Yeah.
Like
the seafood gyoza, right? It's like the pot stickers, so good. The kimchi Brussels, I think I remember the Brussels are so ridiculous. And then, what they do best is their seafood, so it's a Gulf. You got the grilled Gulf fish of the day. Like their fish of the day, the way they do it. I love stuffed shrimp, but you can't. I don't know. Can you limit yourself to that when you have all these different special?
Right.
The sesame seared tuna. Oh, what would you pick here, Mensch? Where would you go?
I'd probably go with the tuna, man.
Yeah.
That's right up my alley. And again, it would be the same thing. This is the kind of place that looks like you could eat 5 nights in a row, have 5 different meals, and just have the time of your life every night.
Let me give you a couple places because obviously I love Chris. His mother's a beautiful, wonderful person. Yoshi Eddings. I think what Chuck has done, what he did, and his son now, Charles Morgan III. It's an amazing story. But when you're in Athens, you can't just eat at one place, right? You could, but a couple other places. The National for lunch. Check it out. Like cool vibe in there. Very different, from like what you're used to seeing maybe on a college campus, college area. The National is a cool spot. Really good food. Paloma Park when you're in Athens, okay? Good place to go watch games, have some cocktails, atmosphere, okay? Tons of screens inside. I remember there's tons of screens inside, but it's also one of those indoor-outdoor deals, right? Where they've got huge jumbo. You think about game day, right? Like before you go over the tailgate, you want to like have the atmosphere. You want to feel a part of the whole thing. You want to watch other games. We got the big noon kick, right? Like this is a great place to do that. Beer garden outside, big jumbotron, like picnic table setup. It's just kind of a fun, open vibe.
Yeah.
So it's our kind of place, Mitch. It's totally our kind of place. And then everywhere I go, you've got to have a late night joint because like who knows what's going to happen, whether you're working late on the game, whether you're, indulging yourself all day and you got to kind of absorb it before you go to bed. Little Italy Pizzeria is the place. For they stay open late. It's, That's my favorite part of the show every week. I'm sorry.
I just love the people you bring into it, man. I love it. The restaurants have been great and the food's great. All of it's great. But I love that you're tying in these people, man, because that's what it's all about. College football is a huge community. And
it is.
That's the stuff to me. And maybe it's because I'm older, right? Maybe when I was 20, I was like, okay, all right, enough.
Yeah. Where's my appetite?
When I'm in life, that stuff is fascinating to me. So.
Yeah, I have a great appreciation for it now. And that wasn't always the case, but great appreciation for it. And I'm telling there's special, like when we get out to a USC game at some point, I literally close friends now that I met while on the college football tour who run a restaurant. You know what I mean? Like the amount of friends that I've developed and the relationships I have over the years. That's why you gotta, I told you the question I get asked more than anything else. Like, who's your biggest fail as an evaluation? Like, who's the biggest bust that you thought was going to be, like all that stuff? The question I get asked the most over the years is always, bucket list. Where would you go? Right. And where are the places that we have to go? Or my friends, we've done 3 different college football trips. My friends, like, give me another place, and like the list goes on. And these people and these places are the reasons why there's just so much passion for it. And literally, like we'll do this for a couple of years, and we'll stack all these different places, all these different restaurants, all the people, and hopefully come up with like a really good menu for people when they're going to try to make a trip somewhere special and do a bucket list type of trip. They'll at least have an initial guide and a jumping off point of where to go. So
yeah.
Appreciate you sticking with us here. Appreciate you listening to all my nonsense and my history lessons.
It's great.
All right. So this is Thursday, huge weekend. We talked about how we're going to make you enough money so that you can go on one of these trips with FanDuel.
Here we go.
Get on their app. I'm telling you, man, when I start getting hot,